Welcome back. This year, the Florida legislature took on some major education issues, increasing the voucher program, creating new standards for hiring teachers, as well as the raises they receive. This morning, we're going to take a closer look at these contentious issues with leaders on both sides of this debate. Republican State Senator Manny Diaz Jr. represents the Hialeah area and is chairman of the Senate Education Committee. And Carl Hernandez-Mats is president of the United Teachers of Dade, representing nearly 30,000 teachers, staff, and clerical workers in the school district. Welcome to both of you for coming in. So I want to start by just sort of asking, and we'll start with you, Senator. Give me your overall impression of how the session ended this year in terms of education.
So it was a very productive session, very active session. I think the biggest thing is obviously the two things. The budget was incredibly healthy, and we made strides, $248 increase per student, 75 of that in the base student allocation. And then we had the voucher bill pass, which really was designed to attack the wait list that existed with the current scholarship programs. And those are students that, for some reason, don't fit well into other schools. And also we attacked the teacher bonus program, Best and Brightest, removing the testing requirements, which is a new investment of $300 million, so we can go directly to our teachers.
We'll get into all that. What would you give the legislature overall in terms of the grade?
I think it was an A+ year.
A+ year. Carl Hernandez, would you give the legislature an A+ this year?
No, absolutely not. I think we did better than we did last year. It's much better than the 47 cents that were allocated to our schools in the prior year. But it's not where we should be. Florida still ranks in the top 5 of the worst paid teachers and per pupil spending in the nation, top 5. And so when we have a year of so much surplus of excessive amounts of money, and we see that there is still continued effort to defund our public schools and put it into expanding these voucher programs, I would give us a D.
All right, so let's start with the voucher program. So there was a bill. It's now being called the Family Empowerment Scholarships. It's going to cost about $130 million. It creates about 18,000 new vouchers. Eliminates the waiting list. My first question to you, Senator, is this is coming from state tax dollars, as opposed to previous voucher programs came from tax credits. So it wasn't truly public money in the sense of it wasn't tax revenue. It was coming from tax credits given to businesses who donate that money. Why not continue to fund the voucher program that way? Why take the $130 million out of the state coffers to give it to private schools?
Well, first of all, that funding has reached a cap, and then we always see we have a waiting list. So, but I will point you to the McKay Scholarship that's been around for 19 years, never challenged. The reason that it's never been challenged, even though it's out of the FEFP, is because it's students with disabilities. And so this scholarship is directed at students that are low income, families that wouldn't have another choice. And it's actually net zero revenue, because the student is either going to choose a public school or choose another option. If they choose the public school, the dollars follow them to the public school like they do now. If they choose the other option, these are dollars that would have been expended anyways on the student in the public school. So my philosophy is if the student's not being served at a school, that school should not receive the dollars for that student.
Okay. If a parent wants to take their child out of a public school that they don't think is serving them, why shouldn't they be able to take those dollars and take it to a private school?
So first of all, for the record, I want to make sure that everybody understands that I think private schools and charter schools and any other type of school have a place in our society and our community. However, I do not believe that taxpayers should be paying for these corporations. These is taxpayer dollars that are going to corporations that are not accountable to us. So, you talk about the voucher expansion program. And FEA just released a study yesterday, Florida Education Association, that more than half of the students that have gone to these voucher programs, after 2 years, come back to our public schools, and they're falling behind. These are schools that don't have certified teachers, that don't have any accountability towards the public, and we are giving public tax dollars to corporations. I mean, to me, that sounds very much like socialism, and this is coming out of a legislature that touts capitalism, and this is a socialist economy.
The issue of accountability, I often hear that raised. that the level of accountability, whether it's even into some charter schools or private schools where the vouchers would go, isn't there. Is there the same level of accountability?
Well, you have to separate the two. There is a strict level of accountability at the DOE, and the commissioner can yank any of these schools off of. First of all, they're all nonprofit entities. They're not, these private schools are not corporations like we think of in the major sense. The other thing is they have to take a norm reference test. They have to have a surety bond. I mean, there's a whole list of accountabilities. There are private schools that don't participate in the voucher or the scholarship programs. They're not required to do that. However, the ones that do have to follow those procedures, including testing. When it comes to charter schools, they have the same teacher certification requirements, same testing requirements. In fact, we've provided more flexibility for the district schools. Now even the construction requirements are the same because we've given the districts what they've asked, which is the SREF flexibility to build at I don't like to say a lower standard because it's really the standard that the schools are built at when they're not shelters.
I want to be careful about using too much jargon. SREF is state requirements for educational facilities,
right.
Construction. Talk to me about the differences you see between the public schools and the private schools. You talk about them in terms of corporations, but what in terms of the educational requirements or abilities are there?
Well, we don't see that there is equal accountability, and there's no oversight. So again, we talk about the public tax dollars going to corporations that don't have any oversight from the public. Just what was mentioned in terms of buildings, which Manny just mentioned. Over $150 million we're giving to charter schools. Charter schools represent 12% of the schools in the state of Florida. For the most part, public schools take care of more than 90% of our children in every single community, and we were given $0 for construction. And our buildings are the ones that serve as shelters when hurricanes come, when there is any type of,
Let's clarify that because that's not accurate. So the $150 million she's talking, the state has taken responsibility for funding the capital outlay for charter schools. The districts collect a dollar amount from property taxes every year that totals almost $4 billion statewide. They keep all of that because we adjusted that, so the state does fund the capital. Now, for a charter school to receive capital, they have to be C-rated or above. They have to be in business for more than 3 years, open and qualify. So to say that the dollars are going to the charter school, not to the district schools, the district school still keeps the bond referendum, which only goes to district schools. It keeps the discretionary.
But wasn't the argument for charter schools that they could do things cheaper? That for instance,
they're doing it at 95% of. They don't receive all of the categoricals, and this is a complicated issue.
So now I'm going to interrupt.
That's a complicated issue, which I understand well.
And Tom Lee mentioned this. And Tom Lee, who's a Republican senator, used to be leadership on the Senate side. He mentioned this in the last day in debate. He said, "Look, they came to us with a false promise. Charter schools told us that they could do more with less, and every year they've asked us for more, and every year they've asked us for more.
They're still doing it with less.
And every year they get more than 21% more is added to charter schools every single year.
Here's another thing, Jim. 20% of the students in Miami-Dade County attend the public charter schools. So what we're saying that we have, are these students less important? Are they less valuable to our community?
Absolutely
Are those
not.
taxpayers less important? So we're still paying charter schools 95% on the dollar of what we're paying the traditional public schools. And look, I agree with Ms. Mats on this. This is an entire system, and I would say going forward, even in the future, majority of our students will be in our traditional public schools, and now magnets and all these options that are. But all of this has created competition, which are made our schools better.
But one of the knocks against the non-public schools,
now we're talking
private schools.
Yeah, now we're talking.
But charter is also, I mean, it's a public school, but it's a corporation with a contract with the school district.
Right. It's statutorily a non-profit corporation that has a contract with the district. It's no different than, and I would ask this is not Ms. Matt's responsibility, but I would ask her to go back to the district and say, how many contracts does the district have with private entities, and how many schools do they pay rent on?
But my point is, the private schools, the charter schools, do not have the same requirements for transportation, for taking students with a English or second,
right.
ESOL, students with second language issues. They don't have to take necessarily handicap programs.
So let's clarify that. Go into my district where I have a school like Matter Academy, 95% free and reduced lunch. Almost all the students English as a second language. They are top, one of the top schools in the state. in doing that. They do take those students. There are problems.
But that's not. They're not required to.
They are required to take students with of a second language is not one of the schools that they can exempt themselves from. I agree on their students with disabilities. If the school doesn't have the ability to serve those kids, they don't. But the district does the same thing. Let's be clear. I spent 18 years in the district, and we turned away kids and sent them to another school farther away because we didn't have the ability to serve them.
I have to take a break now,
Sure.
and then I'll come back. I'll give you a chance to weigh in, but we'll be right back with more of our discussion.